All right, Albert, I hope you are ready to talk about data cleansing, which is the most fascinating topic. And it's not time consuming.
Yeah.
So, all right. So what are we going to be talking about today now, specifically?
Right. So this is lesson 4. So at this point, you're committed. If you're still on lesson 4 and you haven't quit with all of the kind of extraneous side subjects that have popped up in lessons 1 through 3, then you're in it for the long haul. And this is obviously the halfway point. This is, there's only 7 lessons of content. The 8th lesson is the project. So at this point, by the time you get done with this, you're more than halfway done with the learning. And then at the end, you're just reinforcing. So this one really, I think, is a tipping point in more ways than one. Just bottom line up front, this is a fantastic course for several different reasons. But I think this is the part where the filler, if you will, or the kind of soft subjects are taking a back seat. They're still there. They still kind of sprinkle them throughout. It's not all tech stuff. But this is the first course where the technical learning really outweighs the soft skills. And so if you're a geek and you want to get into just the grinding of analyzing data, we're not quite to the analysis phase yet, but most of what you're going to work on in this lesson is, what people would think of as data analysis.
Awesome. So we're starting to get to the meat and potatoes. It's not just.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's no longer just the appetizer. All right. So do you want to share your screen and walk through it like we did in the previous episode?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there still some more commentary you want to talk through?
No, I think that's it. Suddenly my laptop is being a bit extra. We did not allocate the kind of setup time for this one. Oh, there we go. Okay, now we're good.
All right.
And my mouse isn't cooperating either, so we're just tech issues all over the place here. Okay, so we're on touchpad throughout. Okay, so here's the contents. Obviously, world's sexiest subject, right? Process data from dirty to clean. It doesn't get much more exciting than that. But like I said, if you're a nerd and you want to dig into numbers, this is where you need to be. You can see that they estimate it being a little bit short. It's 23 hours, which is kind of akin to, I think, the first lesson, which was not super meaty. I'm going to put it to you that if you're doing this one right, and I have a couple of suggestions as we go through. If you're doing this one properly and you're really learning the subject material and you're not already kind of a SQL Excel expert, it's going to take you longer than that. And I'll show you why when we get there. Okay, so this course it's set up for 6 weeks. That's a bit misleading. And again, we'll cover that towards the end, but week 1, 4 hours, 2, 5 hours, 3, 6 hours. Week 4 is 2 hours. Week 5 is 4 hours, and then week 6 is 1 hour, and we'll cover that. So it's a pretty good spread. It's not some of the other classes you'll see it's like 7 hours for 1 week and then 2 hours for the next. So they've really kind of staggered their hard and soft skills. This one's there's a significant amount of work throughout. Week 5 is a soft skill. And then week 6 we'll cover. So rolling into week 1, and this is one of the highlights of the course. This here is Sally. Can you hear it?
I can't hear it.
Okay. Oh, good. Maybe we're not StreamYard experts yet, but so I will just say that Sally is awesome. Sally is by far my favorite of the 4 instructors we've had so far. I appreciate the fact that she has kind of a corny and silly sense of humor. She throws some jokes in there. Not all of the instructors chose to take it that way. And so I really thought it was cool that she had fun with the lessons and with the material. She also clearly has some personal delight in this subject, which is always great for an instructor.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And the other thing is she's she's just clearly having fun with it, and that gets imparted to the viewer as well. So really, whatever she was talking about, I was in it. And that, the first, I think, who was the first one? Anyway, can't remember the dude's name, but he was really good. He clearly was just super duper motivated. And Jimena, the second one, all really great instructors. But yeah, Sally's pretty good. So there's some dry subjects in here, and if you have a good instructor, even a dry subject seems interesting.
So we have Abe. I put Diaz, the first letter in front of his name. We've got Abe chiming in. He's showing up late.
Dave.
Slouching here. We'll let you pass, Abe, for today.
Yeah. Well, Abe's busy. Did you see he started a veterans Tableau user group with some friends?
I did. He asked me to give a talk. So I'm not going to go this month, but potentially next month.
Yeah. So he's got responsibilities now. Like job changing, starting Tableau groups. Awesome.
He's killing it. We're proud of you, Abe.
Yeah.
Also known as
we
Dave.
feel like proud parents, We feel like we brought Abe up in the world.
Okay, look at this. And he's even modest, too. I didn't start it. I just joined the group.
No, we've already, the die is cast, Abe. We've already said you started the group. We've spoken it into existence.
You took it to the next level, though. You really elevated that group.
Yeah, probably. It was probably just a bunch of losers.
No, I'm sure it was great.
I shouldn't say that. I actually know probably half the people in the group. So they're not losers.
Are you trying to start a P4?
Yeah. No, I just love Abe more.
Oh, true.
Okay, so you start out with the kind of the boilerplate stuff. Sally introduces herself. Course syllabus, discussion prompt. So we've got the meet and greet, and basically just talking about like, hey, once you take on a data set, what do you think you're going to do with it? And it's kind of cool. Each of these lessons, they prompt you to write about what you know or what you may be assuming about the subject matter before they actually teach you. And then they urge you to come back at the end and probably revisit this and then see what misassumptions you had or what you learned in the meantime. If you're plowing through this thing at like warp speed and you learn lesson 4 in 3 days, it might not be the world's biggest evolution, but still. Again, my plug, I urge everyone to do all the writings. I don't know if we're going to use that one for Google Data Thoughts. There's actually quite a few writing subjects in this lesson, but we may. Okay, so they start out talking about data integrity and just kind of ways that you can test for data integrity, ways that you can examine a data set and see if it's valid. And they've touched on this before, kind of going through with the metadata and all that sort of stuff, things you can spot to see if it's a bit janky. Here, they want you to reaffirm that it's aligned with the business objective, just near and dear to your heart. The domain, what does the stakeholder want? What does the client want? And is your data adequate to serve that? Like this section here, this is, overcoming the challenges of insufficient data. They really give you a pretty good framework of what to do if you have these issues. So you have no data, what can you do? You have too little data, you have data that's on the wrong set, or it has massive errors or something like that. So a lot of these readings are really good for, I think at the end, I'm probably going to go back and print off a lot of them and make kind of a binder for myself, because stuff like this is great if you're taxed and you need some kind of muscle memory. If you're not used to doing data analysis and someone hands you a pile of crap and says, make this into gold, you can come back here and these are some ideas, some things that can get you started. Whereas otherwise you might just kind of sit there and go into a tailspin. So
we got GOB tuning in. Hello, everyone. Greetings from in summery Greece. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah. Also, okay, Al, I need to start calling you Albert on air. Albert, I did want to talk about the difference. So I did not take this course, but let's see if I'm in alignment with what they're teaching. So at Greensboro College or High Point, we do talk about data quality errors or data issues. Typically, the framework that I give my students is that if you're a small organization, one of the biggest struggles that you have is not having enough data. And in that situation, you might be able to buy external data sources. And I have kind of like this map of like, you may not be able to buy the exact industry data that you need, but maybe you could buy a complementary or a supplemental industry to kind of gauge how big the industry is. But then with these larger organizations, a lot of times you have data silos. So it's like you start with this legacy system, and then they put on this new department here that's got its own data collection, and then this department, and they don't talk to each other. So if you're working as an analyst in some of those bigger organizations, a good percentage of your day is spent combining them together. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure that we're keeping the professor here honest. And if
for sure.
Because if I'm off, I want to be publicly humiliated and corrected right here in the audience.
Well, I think the one thing, not to get totally off track, but I think the one thing you have to realize is every organization is different. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I kind of marvel at daily in Google is they have committed 100% to creativity and the power of the individual and small groups and of brilliant people doing great things. And what they sacrifice is a hierarchical structure. I mean, that there is very little hierarchical structure there. It's an incredibly flat organization. Anybody can talk to anybody. They all do. And so what the struggle for people coming out of the military, the ultimate hierarchical organization is,
right.
I'm used to being able to go to one person and get the answer to one question, and everybody knows who that one person is, or it's written down somewhere, and it's easy. And every organization within the Marine Corps is kind of similarly structured. Coming into Google, there are maybe 6, 8, 10 different teams working on very similar problems. And at the end of the day, most likely some arbiter will just pick the best solution out of them, and everybody else is like, hey, that's awesome, file that knowledge for later, on to the next problem. And then, for a data analyst, there's analysis going on all over the place by tons of people who are not professional data analysts. It's just part of the job. So it's an incredibly matrix organization. If you go to Amazon, it's the polar opposite. It's hierarchical. It is, kind of this section does this and reports to this person. This section does this, reports to this person. It's redundant, but each person has one job, has one boss, has X number of subordinates, and it's a quasi-military organization almost, at least at the operational level.
Sounds like you're getting some agreement from the audience here. So Abe saying, how weird is that? So I've never been employed as a W-2 employee. So I've been nothing but kind of that. Let's try things out and experiment and iterate. So I've never been in that strongly hierarchical structure. I think that this is an interesting thing. I think it comes down to values.
Yeah.
I think that there are two values that conflict. There is a value for novelty and new things and growth and then there's another value of security and stability. I think the hierarchical organizations, they value that stability to where the kind of flatter organizations, they have a lot of people doing, and it sounds like the risk there might be that people are overlapping. They're doing some of the same work.
Oh, they absolutely are. But yeah, it's a thing about what's your objective. If you're working in Amazon, your objective is brutal efficiency. And so how can we get these packages out faster, more efficiently? If we're 99.9% accurate, how do we get 99.999% accurate? If we push 1 million units of product today, how do we make it so that it's 1.1 million next week? That's That's the objective, and that is what, how they live their lives. At Google, the objective is what's the next big thing? How do we come up with the next great idea? And the answer seems to be have as many smart people as we can get our hands on thinking and innovating and, working together in some sort of organization, but not, they will sacrifice organization all day long for innovation.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like startup culture. Like 99% of startups fail. So 99% of their ideas fail, but that's okay because that one big idea makes it all worth. We're totally getting on a side tangent. Let's get back. Let's get back. Okay. But fascinating insight on Google. You got such a unique perspective, Albert. That's awesome.
So to the previous question before I got off on that massive tangent, you were asking about, if there is no data, which is a common problem in a small company. So right here, they talk about how to use proxy data, how to account for the fact that it's not, drawn from your actual, customer base or whatever. It's not precisely what you want to measure, but it's something similar. And how do you kind of get around that and work with that? And so then they talk about, sorry, I didn't mean to go to the quiz. There's no point to that. So they talk about statistical functions and how you take a sample, because obviously it's generally not optimal or feasible to survey everyone in your population or every potential customer. So you take a sample. How do you account for that? It's not a stats course, but they're going to give you enough here so that you understand the basic statistical requirements of being a data analyst, to include margin of error. And that is week one. Not a ton of heavy lifting, but we get to that pretty quickly. So week two is when you start getting into the cleaning. Let me close out a window or two, see if it'll speed up my laptop. There we go. So talking about trying to make data cleaning sexy, if you will, why it's important, why they enjoy doing it. This one here, again, it gives you kind of a step action. What is dirty data? What does it look like? What should you be looking for? So anything that's duplicates, outdated to me, it's like, is that dirty data? No, it's still maybe good data. You just got to decide how long it's good. If it's incomplete, if you have null values in a spreadsheet or a database, if you can figure out that it's incorrect or inaccurate, like example you were showing me before the show, obviously, things didn't jibe between the columns in that one. So what to do about that? They kind of get into that, but and then inconsistencies, obviously formatting errors are huge. If you have like the wrong data type, that can be terrible, especially if you're trying to do functions or calculations with numbers that are kind of recognized as text or something like that. That can be one of the most maddening things to try and locate and fix.
Albert, do you want to go down that rabbit hole of the dirt? We can kind of have like a meta commentary of like, here is an actual data source that is wrong, and then talk to the trade-offs.
I don't know procedurally how I would approach that.
Okay. Here, let me get this pulled up.
Actually, I do kind of have one idea. But.
Yeah. Well, let's just kind of talk about it. So also, I mean, this is like kind of a way for us to promote the course we're putting together. Yep. But this is this very specific use case that is looking at marketing return on investment. So we have 3 different data sources. We've got our cost data, which is our 2020 ad spend. And you can see the advertising by date, channel, and then how much was spent. And then we have sales by Facebook and sales by Amazon. And the whole purpose of the case study is to figure out which of these 2 marketing channels returns a better investment. Whenever you put in $1 in, how much you get back. But what we noticed is that within the Facebook sales data source, so if you look at column B, so we've had $229 worth of sales. That was 1 unit. But then we have this same product being ordered, but there is no unit ordered. So there's a data quality error within this data source. Yeah. So yeah, I kind of wanted to see if you could run some of the frameworks that you learned in this actual, like, I mean, this is based off of a real consulting engagement, but these are the data quality errors I run across all the time.
Right. So for that with a spreadsheet function, my first instinct is there's got to be somewhere where you've got to have another tab in that sheet or something that says we sold one left-handed smoke shifter for which the unit price is actually $229.95. And then the other transaction says we sold 0, whatever, and then the transaction cost is $229.95. What I would do is put in a function, how many units did you sell times the unit price equals what, the amount of money you should have taken in. And then I would do, on Excel, I would do a countif function showing where the expected transaction value did not equal the actual transaction value. So I'm presuming that, obviously this is a small-ish data set. So you probably, if that's a consistent error, you could probably scan for that pretty quickly. But if you're talking about a database with 1 million lines of data, then you're talking about, you have to have a structural way to figure that out. The other thing is if you sold 0 units, to me, there shouldn't be a transaction there. So that would seem to be an erroneous transaction. So really probably the easiest way is go into sort the headings and go into the, what is that, units ordered. Mm-hmm. And then, I would just
sort from smallest to largest.
Sort that. I would just go into the sort heading and look for the zeros or NAs or nulls or whatever. And then see if you can work out, go into each of them and say, okay, why is this 0?
Okay, this just got a whole lot interesting. So for you guys tuning in, we didn't plan this. This is we're just making this up as we go. But this is really interesting.
Course, really.
Yeah, no, but I liked your logical approach. So we're sorting by 0 units, and I mean it's actually not that big of a situation. So we've got 229, so that's one kind of data quality error, and then what I'm seeing are these 3 right here. Mm-hmm. And what this is telling me, just looking at this and using a little bit of logic, is that this is a price point that we've seen repeated multiple times. So that is most likely a product, and this is repeated multiple times. So what this is saying is that maybe there's an error within the data collection of, well, for this specific product, it's not registering within our ERP system and it's not being tracked.
Yeah.
But the actual case study, this is the order product sales is how much we're reporting from a revenue standpoint. So I would take that as kind of gospel over the units ordered. So fantastic. I really like how you logically work through this problem. Oh, yeah. Interesting. So Marina is saying maybe that unit was refunded.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Yeah.
And the fact that you have that many transactions with 0 units ordered would indicate to me you probably need to go to your sales manager or somebody that understands how this data is input and say, what does it mean when you have a transaction with 0 units? Because chances are that may not be a glitch. If you've got, what do you got there? 8 transactions with 0 units ordered. That seems like more than an outlier. At that point, there is some transaction that records 0 mm-hmm. units, and there's some reason why that's happening.
Right. So in kind of the way that I'm thinking about it, it looks like we have 3 different kind of errors going on. So we could group. So whatever is going on with this product that costs $229, then we have this group of why are we reporting 0 in sales?
Yeah.
So what is going on? That's a separate situation. And then I would probably group these 3 as well and say, okay, there might be some type of a breakdown in terms of how they're communicating across 2 different. So in this situation, it's like you have a CRM, a customer relationship management tool, and it's communicating with an ERP system, which is planning, how many units are being stocked and then how much they cost. So sometimes there are breakdowns in between grouping those together. All right. Well, we've got Marina. She's agreeing with us.
She's agreeing with us. That's good. And maybe she'll continue agreeing with us when we have her on the show on Friday.
Yeah, Marina, thanks for chiming in. That was an interesting point. this is a new format for us, and I like kind of like solving novel problems that we haven't taken a look at and thinking out loud, and then having the audience help us kind of crowdsource an answer to it. But cool. All right, this worked. I was like worried that this might have been a little bit of a dumpster fire, but so all right, let's head back to the framework for the certification.
Okay. So yeah, this is where you start getting into like legit nug work. This video is great here as far as you start getting into like tools and techniques, like what to use actually to clean your data. And so you get this one talking about you're cleaning data from multiple sources. How do you join it? How do you make sure that the formatting is consistent? And then this here is another great reference, common data cleaning pitfalls. I mean, you know, how many times spelling errors? How many times do you misclassify something because of a fat finger on the keyboard, or, you know, you type in Albert Bellamy instead of Al Bellamy, or, you know, what have you. There's some title that's wrong. There's some spelling that's wrong. Forgetting to document properly, all of these things, these big bugaboos with these big red X's. And so it kind of tells you, hey, avoid this, and then what to do if it happens. Sorry about that. So with some of these quizzes, let's try again, even though we got 100% here. Some of these, they're actually going to, a lot of the quizzes as you go on, they actually become writings. So it's just another way to get you thinking and writing about data, which is awesome. But a lot of them, it's actually a hands-on activity with data cleaning. Some of them will actually take you over into BigQuery, and a lot of this class is spent in BigQuery working with SQL. So it takes you through all of these steps. I'm not giving you guys the keys to the castle here. This is like a one-day quiz, but it actually has you pull up the tools and go through it, and then it has kind of a check on learning at the end. So I really like how they transitioned that, because up till now, all the quizzes are just, it's just kind of mashing multiple choice / multiple guess, you know, and it's like, you narrow it down to 2 good answers, you pick the wrong one, oops, you reset the quiz and pick the other one. Is there really a ton of learning going on there? Maybe, maybe not. But when you actually have to work through a problem set and follow some steps, and they start giving you less and less steps after a while and expecting you to know it. And then at the end, they say, okay, well, if you did everything right, you should have got answer A. And if you don't, you got to go back and theoretically work through it again. I suppose you could cheese through that as well if you wanted to. But like I said, garbage in, garbage out. What you're going to get out of this, whatever function of the effort that you put in.
All right, let's pause here. We have our audience chiming in. So, hey, Siam, let me know if I'm totally butchering that pronunciation. And then Cage, this is James, right? James, yes. People need to—
He changed his picture. It wasn't that before.
Okay, well, what I wanted to root down on and talk specifically about is Siam's comment of saying using Power Query helps me a lot to automate data prep in Excel and Power BI. So my exposure to using kind of a systems approach. So like you were saying, like if it's a small spreadsheet and you have 10 rows, you can manually change the data around. But if it's 10,000 rows, good luck doing that. I mean, that's going to take you a week and a half. So what is embedded within Power BI is the Power Query editor. And I believe it's the same functionality as the Power Query within, it's a pro tool that's used within Excel. And what you can do is like you have like, it's really just point and click. You can say, all right, let's trim this, and then it trims the entire row. It's like Bethany Klobanoff talked about this in her episode with us months back about how it only takes you making the data quality error of like not trimming one time, because she spent like 2 weeks trying to figure out this one thing, and it was like, oh, someone hit space after typing in, and then that's the only thing that's wrong. Yeah. And they're just like banging their head trying to figure it out. So a lot of these,
and if you take something from a CSV file, improperly and put in your delimiters, or if somebody has loaded up the CSV file improperly so that it comes out with leading and trailing spaces. Yeah, now the Excel has a function now called trim that just removes all of them, which is magic. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think I lost a day and a half working on my master's thesis, just trimming leading and trailing spaces off of an Excel transpose of a CSV file. That's a nightmare.
Right. Wow. Yeah. So this is a really good specific topic for people to know about in the analytics space. So let's head back. Let's get let's continue to charge forward.
Yeah. So this, they start digging here. And so this is where you're really going to start doing some heavy lifting on going through spreadsheets and doing data cleaning. So some of these videos get a bit long. So it can be difficult to retain everything that they're showing you. What I recommend is, first of all, take notes. I recommend that throughout. I'm referring to my notes every time I look down. I'm looking at my notes anyway. But beyond just taking notes, what I would say is when they're doing a lot of kind of on-screen time where she'll start going through Excel or BigQuery or one of these platforms, eventually going through coding in R and that sort of stuff, Tableau. And the best thing for you to do is just pull that up on your own, even though they won't tell you to do it, and just follow along. It leads to me, if you don't type quickly and you can't just kind of hear something and type it over here without looking at the screen, I can't do that. I'm not a great typist. So I wound up having to pause the videos quite a bit and kind of catch up with my typing and then check back. It helps the retention immensely, and it makes the going through the exercises and the quizzes quite easy because you've already got the muscle memory of going through that exercise with the narrator. And it's very easy because if you pop something up and it gives you an error message, clearly I did something wrong, you click the 10-second rewind and fix it.
All right, we got a viewer submitted question here. So Raul is asking, I'm taking this course and now he's on week 4. Please advise me. Do I need to get an extra Tableau certification along with this, or should this be enough to start my career as a data analyst? So it's outside of the purview of this video. However, I have actually skipped ahead over this past weekend because I had an interview that I was preparing for, and I was quite nervous about it, which I had no reason to be. I did well in the interview. But anyway, told you that story to tell you this story. I've gone through the kind of technical functions on lesson 6, which is the visualization lesson. It is light on like technical, actual playing with Tableau, very light. It is a lot. It reminded me a bit of, not quite as good, but like one of Kate Strachny's dedicated academy classes, where she's talking far more. She'll go into tools and she'll teach you how to use tools, but she's far more about, why do we use visualizations? What are the basics you should do with your visualizations? What looks good, tiled out? What is going to convey a good business message? And a bit less on the buttonology of Tableau and, put this pill here and, sort by this column, that sort of stuff. Lesson 6 of this course is not a heavy Tableau. Like, you're not going to master Tableau off of this course, even to the extent that you're going to master Excel, R, and SQL. There are several, this and the next lesson get very heavy into SQL, not up to like intermediate functions. You're not doing like common table expressions, or it gets into subqueries a little bit, but it's not getting into any real depth of SQL. But at the end of this and the next lesson, you will be able to do basically anything you need to do with a query up to joins and simple subqueries. Tableau does not get heavy into tech. So if you're angling for a job that requires you to have a BI platform, I would say, you need to seek elsewhere for some more instruction.
Maybe one of John David's courses. Who knows?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. Well, on a serious note, I kind of don't agree with the premise of this this whole thought process. And I don't mean to like be mean or kind of like challenge you or be aggressive, Raul. I think that, well, we talked to 5 or 6 different hiring managers, long form, within our podcast, and they keep saying over and over again, certifications are not important. So certifications mean that you know where to push buttons. It doesn't show that you know how to understand a business case, implement an analytics tool, and then uncover an insight that informs a business decision. I think that instead of prioritizing getting a certification, I would build out an analytics portfolio. And while we're on the topic of Tableau, Tableau has a free hosting platform called Tableau Public where you can build out your own visualizations. And that's kind of the space that we're carving out right now. And it's interesting to see kind of how as we explore this space, to be quite frank, I think that the certifications are really just another monetization strategy for Tableau, for Power BI, for Microsoft. I don't think it really benefits you. That being said, I think building out a portfolio where you can say, here's the business need, here's the visualization, here's how you can use this visualization to uncover insights. And I feel like I'm going to contradict myself here, but we do have a learning platform that teaches you how to carve out an analytics project. So we're modeling it after, I just finished wrapping up the capstone course at Greensboro College, where we took, these were multi-million-dollar companies, had the students do real world projects with them. I basically took the structure of what the students did and then digested into learning modules. So sorry, I'll get off my soapbox here. I just feel like the more I think about it and the more I digest this whole like certification grift, the more I'm like, yeah, you got to be careful.
And so I had a conversation with a guy kind of coming new into the analytics field, which is still hilarious to me because I'm new to the analytics field as well. But, he's asking me, he's saying, well, what, is this a good certification? He was asking about Microsoft data analyst certification, which I hear is fine. IBM as well, quite good. And so he was asking about those as a way to learn as an entry-level analyst and as someone getting in the field. Absolutely, good ways to learn. This is a good course. I hear IBM is a good course as well. I don't know much about the Microsoft data analyst, but the Microsoft courses in general are good, so I'm sure it's fine. Then he started asking, well, are these good? And then he asked about the CAP, which is not super well known. It's the Certified Analytics Program. Anyway, but it's put on by Informs, the ops research organization. But it's kind of an attempt to have a capstone certification that is recognized. It's also a bit of a cash grab. So right. I think it costs like $500 to take the test, and there's and they offer you training as well to pass the test, and so it's kind of a big profit driver. But my answer to him was absolutely not. When he asked, are these good kind of value signals? Are these good proof to a hiring manager that that I know my stuff? And I said no, as far as I can tell. And as far as everything we've heard from Matt Bratton, which I don't know why he's not here today, absence.
I know, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, but everything we've heard from actual hiring managers, Alex Ma reiterated it. Basically, everybody that works in the space that has tried to get a job and that hires people to do a job, Bethany said it, that they don't care about the certs. No. They do not matter. Now, it can show interest. It may attract a few looks to your LinkedIn page. They're wonderful. And like I said, it's you will get a good intro education to the analytics space. But as far as walking into a hiring manager and saying, here's my Google Data Analytics cert, give me a job, yo, that's, as far as I can tell, that's never going to fly. And so what I told him is, you take that knowledge and start doing work, even on your own. Just go find data sets on Kaggle, on whatever the government data website is that I should have memorized now because I've accessed it quite a few times. But there are free data sets out there of, ranging from small to like utterly massive, like almost unwieldy and difficult to deal with, you can go find free data, lots of different places, and just sit there and play with it.
Or what you could do is create your own. You can create your own. I mean, so one of the best episodes I think that we've ever recorded was with Jay Swano, who got an analytics job at Amazon. You want to know what his portfolio piece is? He started a nonprofit that sells toothbrushes and gives back to the environment. He's collecting all kinds of data, and he can talk about how he uses data to drive his. I mean, the nonprofits are still a business, so he's using data to drive business decisions. I mean, that like, I think that's a pretty extreme version. But I mean, you could have a side hustle or something, or study your own finances, like or your trends. You use these tools to solve a business outcome, and it could be your own personal finances. Also, thank you, Abe, for the shout out. Just to let you guys know, we are currently in the beta phase launch of the learning platform. So if you enter in launch at checkout, you get 50% off, which is only going to be going on for a few more weeks. All right. So Shyam, thank you so much for the tip. And thank you so much for the kind words too.
Yeah.
All right, so let's head back.
Okay. So, and it starts getting into, what can you automate? How can you save time? And, especially with data cleaning, a lot of these external links on here are very useful in this lesson and then going forward. They spend a little less time from here on out sort of mansplaining stuff and having these big, long readings. A lot of the readings, you can see it estimates 10 minutes. I don't know who's going to take 10 minutes reading that. It's basically 2 paragraphs. But the time that you should invest is clicking some of these external assets and just expanding your knowledge base, because now you're not getting everything from Google. They're like, see, we're right. Go verify with these other people. You get even more data cleaning techniques. There's not a ton of Quick Lab in here, and the Quick Labs that you do use, a lot of them will take you to BigQuery, which is a little easier to use and manipulate. The ones that take you to trying to use Google Sheets are a bit annoying, but there is still some Google Sheets in here. And then this learning log, again, I recommend everything that makes you write and makes you think and makes you kind of organize your thoughts. So developing your own approach to data cleaning. Now that you've learned all of these procedures, how do you want to do it? How are you going to make it your own? And so, I very much urge you to get on there, write this out, keep a record of it. That was my objective with Google Data Thoughts. It's like, you got to write this stuff to complete this course properly. If you're going to do that anyway, might as well make it a LinkedIn post. Stuff's interesting. So assuming you're not blowing it off. So that is week 2. Week 2 is some pretty heavy lifting. Oh, no.
No. Some more tech issues.
Yeah. Laptop and mouse are just being a bit extra this morning. Okay. So week 3 is you're getting into some grindage. I mean, you are in SQL and you are in BigQuery pretty much the whole time. And I mean, you're learning here. So this starts getting into actual running queries from soup to nuts. Select from where on into, I don't remember where this one stops. It's pretty basic because they're still working with Excel in this one. It's lesson 5 is all SQL all day. And that's where you really kind of take your stuff to the next level. But you will go through opening up BigQuery and uploading data sets, both from the Google site and also public data sets that are available on BigQuery. And that's another thing. If BigQuery is free, it's a Google asset. All you got to do is you got to have who doesn't have a Google account of some form in this day and age, maybe somebody in a log cabin in Montana, but that's about it. So if you're getting on the Google Cloud and you're accessing their data sets, that is another place where you can pull interesting data sets. There's stuff on there that's about, they have you keep playing with one that's about these rental bikes in New York City. and showing like where they start a trip and where they end a trip and how long it was and how much was paid and, you know, the customer ID and all this stuff. This is interesting stuff. There are sports stats on there. There's activities, you know, things people are doing, but these are all public data sets. And like I said, vastly varying sizes, something for any kind of interest. And so if you're looking for a project to do, go hop on there. Just grab a data set that looks interesting to you and start asking questions. Like think about what piques your curiosity on there. Yeah. So they go through and they do a pretty good pivot from spreadsheets and using Excel and Google Sheets. And then they start transferring into SQL, and it's a pretty seamless transition because they kind of keep going back and forth, and you really get a very good idea of what each is better used for, which, you know, last couple of days we've been writing about that on LinkedIn. But they kind of go up to, okay, here's where spreadsheets are a bit limited. Here's where you need to transition over to a database and use the, you know, the different functionality with that. So again, recommend when Sally starts going through BigQuery, pull up BigQuery and just follow along. It will increase your learning and you'll get far more reps. Oh, it says I didn't do that reading. I don't know how I got the certificate then. Okay, and then it starts going into kind of more advanced data cleaning functions. I don't remember. I think this one got heavy into VLOOKUP, which if Oz du Soleil ever watches this, he'll have a conniption fit because he'll be like, no, XLOOKUP. You need to do XLOOKUP. And he hates index match too. Oz, if you ever watch this, I'm terribly sorry for bringing up index match. My bad. I love Oz. Okay, and then they get into some stuff that I did not master in my years of Excel wrangling. Concatenate, coalesce. I think I heard of coalesce and used it once, and I was like, you know, couldn't get it to work all that well. Then discussion about debugging SQL code, which is awesome, and then another quick lab. I mean, you're spending a ton of time hands-on with the tools in this, especially in these first 3 weeks. So really is some great learning going on in this lesson. Week 4 is a little bit lighter because I think it comes in at only 2 hours, because it's basically just how to document properly. So especially when you're going and cleaning a data set that has been collected, obviously there's a chance that you're going to make mistakes. You're going to think something's an error. It's not. You know, there's any number of things that could go wrong. So they talk about creating change logs. They talk about documenting within your code when you're writing code in SQL, and that sort of thing, which is a fairly short topic. So no need to beat that to death. So that is week 4. And then, of course, the dreaded optional week 5. So this is the one soft skill that they'll get into. This one, I actually posted this today that they got into this. And you can go, if you don't want to pay for Coursera and you can actually audit these courses for free. You won't get any certificates. So really the $39 a month pays for your certificates. But the other thing you can do is you can just go watch every single minute of the video learning content on YouTube for free. So I keep posting those videos every time I put out another writing challenge. I go and grab whatever video covers that information. That way nobody's left behind. So this is really some pretty good subject matter here. It's only a couple of hours worth of stuff, but talks about how to get a job as a data analyst, a topic that is near and dear to our hearts. I think they're trying to put us out of business.
Yeah, good luck. Google.
Yeah. Like they know anything about that.
Right.
But so it goes through really useful stuff like writing a resume as a data analyst, and what kind of experiences should you highlight if you, hint, hint, are coming out of another industry where you're not doing a ton of hands-on analytics. They give you a couple little resume templates and say, fill this out. I actually skimmed through a little bit of this because I've just recently redone my resume multiple times over the last few months. So yeah, I kind of watched, took notes in order to be able to brief this properly, but did not actually go through all of these exercises myself. Bad on me. So, and that is week number 5. You can see it kind of tapers off pretty good. The first 3 weeks are really the grinding. But I really thought that was a good soft skill to put in there. It's got to be in there somewhere. They promised it on the front end that they would give you kind of employment advice and that sort of thing. So, you know, and there it is. They needed an extra week this week. And then, like I said, week 6 is kind of a curveball because it's literally just the test. And they didn't do this in any other lesson, make the test its own week. Usually it's just tagged onto the tail end of that final week of content. So there's no content in week 6. It's just the course test. And that is lesson 4 on cleaning data.
Oh, okay. So I'm glad that we have 8 minutes. Wait, how much? We have almost 8-9 minutes. I want to circle back around to something that you mentioned way in the beginning. And we had just come off a 5-minute tangent, and I was like, we can't just do tangent after tangent after tangent. But now we have time to talk about this concept of proxy data. So what did Google tell you about proxy data?
It gave some general guidelines on, you know, obviously the definition is just, hey, I've got this customer base and I have lost all of my data, or it is a brand new customer base. I don't have any data from them. Proxy data is, you know, preferably the same industry, but another company has gleaned some data, a third-party data think tank. You know, you go to Gap Intelligence or Stackline and say, you know, how much for a set of data on e-learning customers, and they pull that from, you know, people that are shopping on Coursera or Udemy, but, you know, have not yet bought the Silvertone Analytics e-learning platform.
Well, okay. So what I thought was, when you mentioned that, I was like, oh, I just wrote a lecture on this. Of what I'm doing from a business owner standpoint is I'm using my YouTube statistics, my YouTube analytics as a proxy to understand the market and define my buyer persona. So if we head over to the audience tab, I feel like I can get a pretty good idea of who I want to target for this platform. And this is that same concept. You're just seeing, this is proxy data for, you know, I don't even know, Al, how many analysts do you think are actually out in the world? Maybe 1 million? See, there's no like hard quantified number that there are 250,000 analysts worldwide that have analysts in their job. Yeah. So what we're doing is we're using our YouTube demographics to uncover, all right, well, who is this person that would be perfect for the buyer persona? Mm-hmm. For the platform, so developing a buyer persona. So if we scroll down, we can see that we're very strongly skewed male, and we have, well, okay, this is a conversation into itself. So we have 18 to 44-year-olds are on the platform. So have we talked about this? Like, Al, do you think it's a good idea for us to target 18 to 24-year-olds?
To target them
for a $100+ course.
Yeah, I mean, there's a pretty big leeway in there. A 24-year-old is vastly different from an 18-year-old, especially for the demographic that we're looking for is probably packing themselves a brand new bachelor's degree. So, you know, a 24-year-old is likely has a 4-year degree and is working in some field. 18-year-old, there's no way unless they're Doogie Howser. So, You're talking about two wildly different people there.
I don't think so. Okay, I'm going to push back on you, and this is something that I've because I'm teaching at two universities, I see this. So what I see 18 to 24-year-olds, there are students and there are those who are going through their quarter life crisis. So there's not very few people are getting a college degree and then just killing it right out of the chute. So using this audience tab as a proxy, I don't think that we should target, even though we are getting traction with those people, and some of those people 18 to 24 are looking for jobs, we should probably target 25 to 44-year-olds. Well, okay. I guess what the point I was making is think about it in terms of discretionary income.
Yeah, true.
All right, we got Iris chiming in. There got to be some 18 to 20 with open-minded parents.
Oh yeah, we got to target them and tell them to beg for mom and dad.
Well, see, okay, I don't know if I want to be in that space. Well, that Iris, I see your pushback, and that is a valid point. But actually, it is and it isn't, because we wouldn't be marketing to 18 to 24-year-olds. We're going to market to them to ask their parents. Why wouldn't we go directly to the source and just market to parents with students in college? We're getting totally sucked down this rabbit hole. The whole point of us bringing up the YouTube demographics is that I'm using the data we're collecting from our YouTube channel to get a read on the overall market worldwide in this space. So this is proxy data.
I might say that that's more of a sample. If you're assuming that your actual customers or potential customers are the total number of analysts worldwide, and these are the people watching the YouTube channel, are probably a subset of that, or at least the total number of people interested in analytics. So yeah, I'd say this is more of a sample.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Explain to me the difference, because in the lecture on the marketing analytics course, we go through this, and I say I use this data as a proxy for the actual marketplace, like the demand, the people who are looking for this.
Now, if you're taking a number of the people that you actually are targeting, so let's just assume that everybody watching the channel is a potential customer for the Silvertone Learning Platform, then that demographic spread there, it's a sample. You're taking a sample of your potential customers and then trying to make judgments about them.
Man, that is weird, because I just realized I use the word proxy you use the sample size as a proxy for the overall representation.
If I'm wrong, Iris, correct me.
Yeah, we're coming up on like the last minute or so. I just thought this was.
So I'll just defer to her.
Well, I just thought this was an interesting like side tangent that we could go down, since we've already gone through. Well, no, we've already gone through all the weeks. So those of you who are sticking with us, let us know if this is interesting, because I think that one of the things that we can do as an organization is show you real data that are driving our decisions, which may be a foolish decision. I'm not quite sure. The verdict's out on that.
Yeah. Okay. So I only did, when Alex did his 4-part project series, I only did the first 2 so far. I got, life happened when he came out with the third one like a month ago, and that one was on data cleaning. So to kind of dovetail off of this, I'm going to try and do that this weekend. And I'd really like to publish that next week. And then maybe that can be something that that we can talk about, that, hey, here's Alex's project and the Google course coming together, and then reinforce it with our course, and just be magic, and everybody can have validation that it's real stuff. It works.
Well, I think that having access to like real data source or data sources that are realistic. So I think that like most of the data sources that you see, or at least the ones that I was exposed to when I was learning, are like cookie cutter, out of the box, like some stodgy professor cooked it up, and it's just not true to reality. So I thought this was an interesting exercise. Those of you who are still on the live chat, let us know like what's resonating in terms of like what we're putting out in terms of content, because we're all ears. Let us know. But we are coming up on right at an hour, so I'm going to respect your time, Mr. Albert, and let's close out the live stream. So any other closing words other than bye?
I have none other than, hey, like I said, it's a great course, great instructor, good knowledge. I really felt when I was done with this one, I felt like I'd accomplished something.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all the hard work that you've done on this series. And thanks everybody for tuning in and participating in the chat. See you guys.
Yep. Bye guys.